Hey everyone, you're watching Kickback and Chat with Amber Pickens. Today I get to chat with the phenomenal trailblazer and pioneer. He has produced many Broadway productions such as Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, A Streetcar Named Desire, Eclipse, Cirque du Soleil's Paramore, and Ain't Too Proud. Please welcome Stephen Byrd.
Hey, look at you. Can you see me?
Yes, you look good.
I see. I feel, is that Romare Byrd behind you?
My mom got this. She got this
That is fantastic.
from a cell in Dallas, but it is somewhere in Memphis, like the main.
Wow, that is awesome. You look so great.
Thank you. So do you.
Look
How have you
at
been
you.
doing?
Trying to come out of my rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of us are trying.
I know.
Day by day. Have you been able to relax at all? Are you still like really busy?
We've got a lot of moving parts. We've got being on the Broadway League task force, being on the board of governors. We've got 40 task force dealing with a multitude of issues, trying to open Broadway again, which I think is going to be an incredible challenge before 2022.
Yeah, for sure. Before 2022. Okay, so we're pushing
Yeah.
more. Oh wow, I definitely want us to touch on that today, for sure, because there is so much.
Okay.
I looked over your article as well, and I was like, okay, I'm going to talk to him about that. But just starting from the beginning. So 15 years ago, you and your business partner Leah Jones Harvey started your amazing production company, Front Row Productions, and y'all are the only African Americans that are full-time Broadway producers. What made
Well, you did your homework.
Yes. And also, I've been looking up to you for years now. So, I mean, it's a known thing in my life.
Thank you. And you're one of my favorite heroes.
Thank you. I feel the same about you, Stephen.
Yeah.
I feel the same about
Thank
you.
you. It's mutual.
Set the standard very
It's
high.
mutual. Yes.
Thank you. What made you want to become a Broadway producer?
I was on Wall Street and I decided I need to take an intermission for a change. I had been on Wall Street for a very long time, considering that I had started at 21 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I took what I would consider at the time a sabbatical, which turned into a leaving the company. And I got a script from some young guys who were doing a film, and they were looking for investment. And the film was New Jack City. And so I had put some money into that. And I, the fast cut to the chase, I fell in love with Hollywood and I became bi-coastal. And I tried to develop some projects of my own, and it didn't work out. And I found out very quickly that in Hollywood, you can die of hope. Mm-hmm. Whereas in New York, no is a complete sentence. So I tried and labored in the vineyards in Hollywood trying to get the classics made, because I saw there was an audience between August Wilson and Tyler Perry, which hadn't been addressed. And so I thought that if I did the classics, they would already have well-known titles. The classics that I chose were the ones that I love: Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Streetcar Named Desire. They had never been done with multiracial cast. I mean, you look at Streetcar, the film, there's only one Black in the film, and this is New Orleans.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. But they all resonated with me. I tried them as films, it didn't work. And then we went to Broadway with Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. And the first person I went after was James Earl Jones.
Yes.
And I saw him as Big Daddy. And his agent said, well, we'll set up a meeting with James, but he can only give you 20 minutes. And we ended up spending 2 hours together.
Of course.
And James was just so, and to this day, is one of my all-time favorite actors and individuals, persons. And so I finally got around to asking him to play the role of Big Daddy. And he stood up and said, I always wanted to play that cracker. So James was in, And then it was a matter of bringing in all the other team, Felicia Rashad, Anika Nani Rose, Giancarlo Esposito, Terrence Howard. And we ended up being the biggest grossing play on Broadway.
Yes. And then
And
going to London.
ironically, yeah. And then when it was ironic because while we were the biggest one on Broadway, I think the only award we got was sort of like the People's Favorite Show Award. We never got a Tony nomination. We were like ghosts. They didn't even see us on
Mm,
Broadway. They thought we were one hit wonders, and they didn't even acknowledge giving us any recognition. I think we got the Broadway.com award,
mm.
which I was thrilled to get. And then we took it to London, where we won the Olivier Award, which is equivalent to the Tony Award. So we were vindicated to the extent that, awards are very lovely. It's nice to look at your bank account and an award. You know,
Yes.
it's even better to look at your bank account if you don't get one. But
Okay.
nevertheless, that was part of the journey going forward.
So once y'all set that such a high standard for that to be your introduction into the Broadway community, how did that shift for the way the Broadway community was embracing y'all?
We
Did
were
you
the new
feel it
kids on
shifted
we were
y'all?
well, we were the new kids on the block.
Hmm.
We paid our bills. Um, they knew, I haven't had a very distinguished Wall Street background. They knew that we were legitimate, that I knew the business, but I didn't know the nuances of Broadway because Broadway is a very, very small community. And I probably rubbed some people the wrong way
Mm,
because when, you're doing a Broadway play, today the average play costs $4.2 million.
wow.
The average musical is 16 million to 25 million. Now, under any other circumstances, if you started a company, you can start a company for 5 million. You can do a low budget movie for $5 million, and at least you have streaming and other subsidiary rights. On Broadway, you're taking a huge risk. So every time you do a new show, you have got to maintain your track record and go back out again to pass the hat to people for more money. So it was interesting to see the Broadway dynamic. And the one thing I noticed was that both Aaliyah and I would walk into rooms and we were the only people that looked like us.
Yeah, and I was reading that in the New York Times article, how you were saying walking in the room and noticing that it's no producers that look like you all. When you walk into an audition, there's nobody on the at the audition table that looks like you all, and how their
No, other no,
changes.
other than ourselves. I mean, you go to some of the major talent agencies. There's not. Maybe there's a receptionist. Maybe not. You don't see anyone working as an agent. You go into it's changed now for the marketing they ad and marketing agencies. Uh, Aletha Jones is running Spotco, which is the number one or two, and it's not my partner, which is Aaliyah, but is running Spotco as COO. So that dynamic is changing. But you go into a general manager's office and you're spending your money. And I brought the subject up because our mandate was and always has been diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
And so when I went in, I felt remiss that we weren't advocating that, but it was a little difficult to push that particular envelope because all you would hear is we're looking, we're trying, et cetera, ad infinitum. I mean, it's not, and I don't mean to demean the intellect of the business, but it's not rocket scientist business. I mean, everyone
Sure.
that comes in as a producer has not necessarily gone to Wharton School and gotten an MBA. I think this is a bootstrap entrepreneurial business, and the people that are in it, they're entrenched. The unions, I mean, I could pick on one hand, less than one hand, the number of stage managers. When we looked for a black stage manager, there was only two to choose from. And usually they were busy. And that was it as far as the unions were concerned. And these guys make a lot of money, the stage manager. I mean, a lot of money. You're talking six figures, which they keep those jobs within the union and in particular within their families. So there's a lot of deep, entrenched, vested interest as opposed to overt racism. It's protecting, having a can of BS repellent and spraying it around to protect your turf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I also know that you're on the board for the Broadway League. And so I was also reading how these diversity programs have been created, these different programs where it's reaching out to the different audiences have been created and some type of maybe mentor programs as well. But do you truly think that that it's been that the work has been done even a little bit like a start of it has been done, or do you think that people are just more so releasing these statements to kind of calm everyone down, but not really changing, not really like going
I
about.
don't think it's a placebo. I think that the Broadway League has been very, very sincere in their efforts. My only gripe with the Broadway League, which is and has been, is that we're, as a league, we're talking to each other at the meetings. If there's 50 theater owners, producers, and only two African Americans on the board of governors, we're all talking to each other, and it doesn't go anywhere outside the room as far as an initiative. And my mandate is and has been that there are a lot of people that have a voice and a lot to say and a lot of solutions to the problem that cannot afford $5,000 a year membership.
Yeah.
So we need to open it up to new voices inclusively if you want new, fresh ideas and thoughts. I think what's happened as a result of George Floyd was tremendous, how Broadway came together and really bonded and aired their grievances and got it out there. I would hope and I pray, if you will, that some of it sticks because there are so many other priorities with both theater owners. When you look at the multitude of challenges with being a theater owner and opening Broadway back with social distancing, the ventilation systems in the old theaters, you know, how are you going to socially distance when you have a $16 million show?
Yeah.
Um, are intermissions going to be an hour, 45 minutes to get to the bathroom? And maybe if you're lucky, you'll get a refreshment, which was always a challenge. The Broadways are all next to each other.
Yes.
So when you say socially distance and you have a sellout show like we've had with Ain't Too Proud and or Tina and or Hamilton, the people are going to be all the way to the East River one way and all the way to the Hudson River the other way,
Yeah. That's
socially distancing. So there's major challenges in just opening the doors for theater owners.
and you're saying you're
Um,
2022.
Everyone is looking to open yesterday. Everyone said originally June. Everyone said the fall. And I kept saying, listen, guys, are you going to bring your mother, your father to the theater?
Mm.
Or are you going to sit next to someone and God forbid someone should cough or sneeze?
Freak out.
Yeah. So there are a lot of challenges, but as producers, with my producer's hat on, we just want to open up our show and pick up where we left off. And that's been a challenge. Realistically, I think there are challenges before people come back comfortably. We've lost what was 3 years ago the second largest ticket buying audience, the Brazilians. They've got a bigger problem with COVID-19 than we do.
Mm.
We've lost the internet. We can't even go to Europe. We're banned. And there's a challenge for the international traveler. I don't know of anyone in their right mind that's going to get a stimulus check for $1,200 to say, "Look,
And
Amber,
Broadway show.
let's go buy let's go see a Broadway show and have dinner." So to bring those audiences back, I don't know. That's a challenge. So, do the programs resonate? Are they going to have some kind of cohesiveness or stick to itiveness? I don't know, but there are a number of priorities on the table. I would hate for this to become at the bottom of the list, but to hear everyone, as long as we keep that voice out there, I think it won't go away.
For sure. For sure. And you've been doing this for so long, almost 20 years now, like being in the Broadway community and changing the narrative. Who has inspired you to focus on the things that truly matter?
Well, they came from many different areas, which weren't necessarily Broadway per se. I mean, I had no real legacy idol to look up to as a Broadway idol. You know, I've had, if anything, I've had my own challenges with people that look like us on Broadway that, you know, you give jobs to. But um, it's been in the general business community, you know, Reginald Lewis as one, a great African American who bought out one of the biggest conglomerates in the business, Beatrice Foods. There are a number, but most of my legacy and people and or mentors that I've had an opportunity to meet and be with have always been people within the community. Robert Smith to this day, who donated,
Yes,
bought up
I'm
everyone's,
glad.
you know, debt in at Spelman, Morehouse rather.
Yes.
Those are the kind of legacy people that I look up to because I look at the broader picture. I think that, you know, we're now that we've gotten used to Zoom, we've gotten used to streaming. Um, People are comfortable. You know, you're not so comfortable going out to a restaurant sitting next to someone. You're not so comfortable going to a theater. You know, it's not that we're becoming cocooned, but we've become comfortable where the necessity lends itself to going out. You will, but you're not going to put yourself in harm's way. You know, I walk every morning along the East River, and you can't help but notice going past Bellevue Hospital and NYU, there are 10 vans out there, refrigerated white vans. Those are storing bodies.
Wow.
So this that's going on is for real.
Yes.
So
Other things to worry about. Yeah, for sure.
there's a lot to worry about. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that as it relates to Broadway, we're going to be looking at more projects, not unlike Hamilton, streaming. We're going to become very comfortable looking at a lot of the actors um, doing Broadway shows that are filmed on stage first until Broadway resolve their issue, and you'll see them on streaming platforms
Yeah, that's amazing.
as well. You know, Tyler Perry's got a good model at his studio.
Oh, yes.
I think that
Reading
that's
about that, how maybe have everybody stay on set and just live on set.
yeah. I think that that's the wave of the future until we get a vaccine. And then if we do get a vaccine tomorrow, who's going to be the canary in the cave to be the first one to take the shot? I don't know.
Yeah. And touching on something that you said earlier when I was asking about who has inspired you and you saying that you didn't feel, was it that you didn't feel maybe embraced from everybody within our community?
Um, that's a third rail question.
Hmm.
Um, you know, a smile is not necessarily an embrace. As producers, white or black, we are competitors. There are only three major theater owners. So there's a lot of sharp elbows, which they're not personal. It's a matter of I want to get a theater.
Okay.
You know, I've got a show to go. Do you take it personally? Now, I've had instances where there's some producers, major producers who I won't name, that I've gone up to when I first started in the business that I, you know, said, I'd like to, you know, get together with you. I've got a couple of questions to ask. I would like to pick your brain. And it was, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. And on the day of the appointment, I'm sorry, I've got to cancel, you know, come back in 3 months. and we're sitting on, in the same room at meetings. That shouldn't be. And
Exactly.
you'll read where certain people that don't look like you and I are being mentored by other people.
And I learned that about you as well, in a previous interview that you said you and Aaliyah weren't mentored in the traditional way.
No, I mean, I can send you video after video of interviews of major producers, general managers, so forth and so on, who had said, I was mentored by so forth and so on. I was mentored by this one. I was mentored by that one. That's how I came up through the ranks. We did everything wrong. No one said, Stephen, you have to give all the Tony voters 2 tickets. I'm
Hmm.
saying, why can't we just give them one? Well, you wonder why you don't get a Tony nomination. But
Wow.
no one says no. You must give them 2 tickets. It was like letting you fail on your own. But that's one example.
Wow. And so moving forward, is that something that's in discussions where like true mentoring programs will be created, not just for the performers, but for aspiring producers and directors as well?
That's in the works right now. Right now, there's only one African American company manager, general manager,
Oh, wow, only one.
and only one. And Anthony is working at, as I recall, the house manager at Wicked. Um, there's a lot of lip service. It costs money. I would think that, notwithstanding what we're going through now with COVID-19, bringing on new people may not be a priority because you have to bring back your old staff in order to qualify for PPE and other benefits. So I don't know how much of a priority that's going to be. But is it in discussion? Is it a priority? Yes. I mean, when you're looking at bringing on people for internships, or you're just going to focus on Manhattan, what about people from Chicago? What about people from Arizona? Do you have the money to house them? Do you have the every how about a per? Can you pay them a salary? Where are they going to work after they finish their internship or mentorship? Producing is not so much of a challenge per se. I think you come up with a good idea, whether it's a play or a musical, and be passionate about it. Be very committed to it. And you have to look at who is this good for from a director standpoint, who's the writer, putting the germination of that idea together cohesively into some form of a platform that you can move forward with, then becomes the hardest part, raising the money, because it's the chicken or the egg. I've got a good idea, but I've never raised money before.
16 million, that's
And
a lot of money.
well, that's the going rate, and that's going to be the next challenge for Broadway post COVID. That these numbers cannot continue to exist like they were in the old days of Broadway.
Mm. Mm. Wow, that's a lot to take in. Just really reflecting about all of it. It's a lot going on, but I feel like all of this had to almost happen at the same time, like COVID globally impacting everybody and the uproar over racism. It all had to happen at the same time for it to
It
really
has to change.
give it attention because we're at a standstill. So for us to really give it the attention it needs and really start making the changes that need to be made.
Yeah, I think that this has been paused for everyone because when we left the theater on March 14th, um, who would have known March 15th you wouldn't be back in business ever again for, up till now.
Yeah. And
I
I'm
mean, that,
no, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I definitely wasn't expecting it to last this long, and but like I was saying earlier, it's like all this had to happen, unfortunately, all at the same time.
But we're dealing with a lady called Mother Nature.
Yes.
When you're dealing with Mother Nature is biology, chemistry, and physics. That's Mother Nature. That's it in a bag. And so we can't say we're going to go back to the theaters. Screw Mother Nature.
Yeah, it had to
Mother
be.
Nature Mother Nature is light years ahead of us. Oh, you think you're going to open? I got something else for you coming down the pike. A little thing called a new pandemic called swine flu.
Mhm.
Who knows what's next?
That's so true.
So, the old saying is man plans and God laughs. So, yeah, we want to open like yesterday, but we can
Reality
plan
takes
as
you
much
away.
as we want.
Yes.
There's the tour that we had planned to do. Oh, we can go to Detroit. They don't have the same problems as New York. Well, guess what? There are a lot of second waves coming in now all over the country. And guess what? We were the black sheep in New York, and now we're playing it low key. Miami cut us, kept us out of the from coming in as visitors at one point. Now the worm has turned. When they come to New York, they've got a quarantine for 14 days because everyone says, hey, hip, hip, let's go. Everyone wants to get out and get it on. And we're dealing with Mother Nature. Until we realize that, we have to throttle back and just take a pause and a deep breath.
Yeah. I love how you're so grounded throughout all this and you're just so at ease about it and you're realistic but you're very positive and I love that.
It's the only way to be. I think that we have to look at as producers, you know, we've done things on Broadway for 100 years, perhaps the same way. Is there a new model? That's a big question. Um, Theater owners, they're not going to want to change. The unions are going to want what they want, and they don't want to take a dime or a dollar less. So we as producers have to figure out how do we get out of this rabbit hole? What do we do innovatively that can keep theater alive? Maybe it's not necessarily on Broadway. I think that the key to Broadway has always been that you become Tony eligible and you pay a price for being on Broadway. Perhaps it's, going to BAM. Perhaps it's, an off Broadway theater. Perhaps it's doing something at the Shed, you know, down at Hudson Yards as another venue. Perhaps it's doing something outdoors at Lincoln Center as a performance area. I don't know the answer,
Right.
but we can't wait until you know, waiting for Mother Nature and the theaters to hash it out to say, okay, doors are open, we're ready to go. And Mother Nature said, whoa, 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 there's a third wave.
And that's yeah, that's real. That's the reality of it. And I mean, I all of us wanted to come back because the arts is so powerful and it affects us all in such a beautiful way. And especially with all the change that is happening, I think it'll be even more powerful. But it's forced us, especially during this time of this lockdown, to really go inward and just find just going back to simplicity, the beauty of simplicity. Like, what have been some things that you have had time to do just on your own? Like, is it like reading a new book or binging or on something or just meditating? Have you been able
I've
to?
been doing a lot of Sudoku puzzles.
Oh wow!
um,
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of Zoom conference calls with the league, and there's a lot of moving parts. I just think that again, our business has stopped in its track. I mean, look, if we go back to where we met, Cirque du Soleil, they're now bankrupt.
Yeah.
They're out of business. So here they were doing,
Thriving.
pardon me?
I said they were thriving then and globally.
Yes, in Berlin. I mean, and
They're in
uh,
Germany now.
in Germany, and it's closed. I mean, it's like everything has stopped in its tracks. But for me, I'm looking at again. We will come back. You know, do I take the projects that I have? Do I do them on stage with Netflix in a sound stage, or do I start working with visual reality?
You know, immersive theater, you know, has been the next big potential area to go into. You can socially distance, but you can be a visual part of it. I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at where do we reinvent ourselves. You know, either you're part of the solution or you're part of the problem. And so that's where I'm trying to get out of this whole we're talking to each other because we need more inclusive voices. Actors want to act. And I think that Hollywood is getting their act together a lot quicker. I think the major film studios, TV studios that need content have figured it out a long time ago. I mean, you can do a huge army film, a war picture, with nothing but graphics, and it looks like you've got 1,000 actors in it.
Right.
You know, you can digitally kiss. You don't have to, you know, and you can. It looks
That's
seamless.
one of the main things I've been thinking about. Will there be kisses on screen anymore? Like, what about the romance?
Well, I just think that there's challenges with actors in the room. If someone coughs, as you know, as a dancer, as an actor, you're sweating.
Yeah, so
You
no
know,
more cattle calls.
you're moving, and it lends itself to camaraderie. You know, it's not a socially distancing business. It's a close business. You know, what protocols are going to be in place when you walk into the theater to go on that night that makes you feel safe? Those are big challenges. And I think we're looking at this in one big package. And that's why I'm looking at this as being a longer trajectory to returning than earlier. Even if we return again tomorrow, where is the audience? People are not inclined to go into enclosed spaces. We can't even go into a restaurant today. You know, the governor and the mayor said no indoor dining.
Yeah.
You know, outdoor. What are we going to do when the winter comes? You know, we're only 3 or 4 months before we get hit with a good cold snap. What are we going to do then? So is everything shut down? Um, what's happening? Do you close off all the streets and put up heat lamps for everyone to eat outside with their overcoats on? I don't know.
Yeah, nobody knows the answer, so they feel like you said, they can't put a date on it because they have to wait to see what we're facing as soon as when we're actually in the present, rather than making all these different assumptions, because it's just not
realistically. I think that the league has brought on health experts, they've brought on doctors, but we have Dr. Fauci's not on the league list of people that can sit there and say this is where this pandemic, or Dr. Byrd. I don't know, and I don't pretend to know all the answers. I'm just looking at where my next, where I'm going business wise, where I'm going with my company, where I'm looking at with my projects. Where do we land next? And maybe if you can't get in the front door, you come around the back door. I mean, it's not unlike La La Land, Moulin Rouge. A number of projects started off as films first and then came to Broadway. So is it creating a demand outside of Broadway with major Broadway musicals and then letting them stream and then coming back to Broadway? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing just this continued shift and just change for the better. I really do. And
I look forward to seeing you back on the stage.
Me too.
You had a big project, right?
Good to dance.
What was the last one you worked on? Which was
I was on Law and Order. We shot the Law and Order SVU episode like right before, a few weeks before they shut down everything.
I was talking about the one with Joshua.
Yes, at MCC Theater.
Yeah.
The Wrong Man. The Wrong Man.
The Wrong Man.
Yes.
That was ready to blow up huge.
Yeah.
Were you going to still be in it?
I wanted to look at other options personally.
Absolutely.
I wanted to look at other options.
Yeah.
I know some people are excited about it. I was like, I want to look at other shows.
You always keep it moving. That's
exactly
one thing about you. You are in a very good way, opportunistic. You
Yes, and
don't let grass grow under your feet.
yes, and also I'm just so even more so now that I have more time to really dive into history and the importance of not just black bodies being on stage, but the black voices, the black narrative, black producers, directors, general managers, choreographers. I'm looking forward to seeing more shows like that. I'm just turned off by shows now that are talking about equality, but when you look at the creative team, we're not there. So how can we talk about oppression? How and these different people's experiences if we're not on the creative team? Like, so it's a huge. It's still these walls that just need to be completely knocked down. So that's some of the things I'm really looking forward to seeing change. And
Yeah, I think it starts with the unions. I
yeah,
mean, a lot of this, behind the scenes that we would like to have inclusive. I mean, we can always get tons of African American choreographers, tons of African American um, costume designers, but there's a handful when it becomes who do I hire for a PR person
yeah.
that is in the union. There's only one African American in the PR union
Oh my
for the
God.
past 20 years. Irene Gandy. I mean, she's been the only one for 20 years. There are people who do, outside consulting as PR people or marketing people. But I'm talking about being in the actual Broadway union. There's only one
Exactly.
for the past 20 years.
And those are see that's the exact thing I'm talking about. We can't say these statements that people are releasing. I'm like, it's beautiful, but when is it? We really want to see the change. Like, where will this what is the word I want to use? Just like urgency. Everybody's like, we're making these changes right now. Will this urgency and this proactiveness still be there once the hype fades? Is what I want to see.
Well, are you talking about from the actor side, or
I
from the
think all the
theater
way
owner
around.
side, or
I
from
think
the
all the way
lead?
around because I think
I
that
mean,
we have responsibilities as performers as well to speak up and be able to speak to say no because a lot of times
yes.
people continue to pick their pockets over integrity. And I'm like, we at some point we can't complain. We can't continue to complain if we're going to continue to just be like, oh well, it's a job and I want to make money and yeah, this is wrong, but I got to pay my bills. So I've been having those conversations as well with my peers. When are we going to say no?
I guess from your perspective, when we in any way, and I say we in the editorial sense, whenever we've raised our voices on the heels and momentum of a movement, it becomes the producer, the director, whomever is that you're looking up to, whoever's writing your check. So I hear you, I hear you. And then they whisper, she's a troublemaker. She's a
Exactly.
troublemaker.
And that has been my experience where it's happened on both sides from not just the production, but my peers and not just
Yeah,
my peers, black peers as well, that when I've spoken up about something they'll be like, she's crazy.
yeah, and that a lot of times, it'll be interesting to see with all these voices that are chiming in about this and that. These same people want jobs when this all subsides. Everyone's going to be knock on the door for a job, and it's like business as usual. I'm going to rehearsals. Sorry about you didn't get a job, Amber.
Right.
You know, um, so I don't know how much gravitas this really has and traction that is going to maintain. I think again, Black Lives Matter gave us a voice, but unfortunately, had Black Lives Matter happened and there was no COVID-19, it would have shaken up the industry. But right now, it's a matter of which kid in my house do I feed tonight? I've got 9 kids, and who can I feed tonight? And if I feed all 9 of them, it's kibbles and bits.
Right.
So it's a matter of priority.
Yeah, for sure. There's a responsibility that we have on from all different sides, all different angles. And I've been having these conversations. And I'm like, okay, you all want change. So are you going to be able to change as well? Like, are you still going to are you going to support your castmates when they bring up these issues? You know,
Absolutely, absolutely. But I've seen that with casts previous. I mean, there are certain casts that have bonded together, and if A, B, C, or D happens to you, then there ain't no show. It's like, here's what, I've seen that up front and close. So I know that it can happen and have an effective meeting if you're all speaking with one voice. Can
Yeah.
that happen?
Unity, it's so important.
It is so important that you all speak with one voice, and not just through the union. I mean, everyone has a union captain on the set. You know, is there a union executive vice president that looks like you or me? Is there someone at the very top that can address this issue that doesn't have the title human resources or designated captains for this or that? That's BS. That's BS. It's not a real voice at the excuse me, at the table.
Yeah, that's so true.
I'm sorry to, don't go about these things.
No, I'm happy to talk to you about this. Thank you, because I think it needs to be directly addressed. This, like, people talk about white fragility, but I'm like, it's black fragility, brown fragility, orange, pink. It's fragility all the way around. Let's just talk about what is, and that's what art is supposed to do. It's supposed to reflect the times. Like, that's our duty as artists, and people aren't standing up about that at all and abiding by that. So I'm happy to have these conversations where we're just speaking the truth. Like, this is what it is.
Yeah, everyone has their own vested self-interest, but be assured that I am at the table, banging the table, and I may be considered the troublemaker in the room, but I'm happy to wear that particular hat because I'm not looking for a job, so I can't be fired.
Yeah.
And, I don't look to Broadway per se to make a living. So I've got a skill set beyond that, and so it's a labor of love. And once I stop loving and waking up in the morning that I can't wait to go to what it is I love and want to do, then goodbye. One less troublemaker.
Troublemaker, that's a good hat. That's a good hat to wear, I think. I appreciate you and what you've been doing. I definitely do. I look up to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because there's a lot of us that want to have those roles one day. Like, performing is, that's my passion for sure. I can't live without, like, dancing.
I know. That's in your DNA.
It's in my DNA, but I also want to explore, being a director one day, being a producer. I think that that's important, that we explore all these different positions, So
well, whatever I can share with you, I've always and will always be available to you. Be assured of that.
Thank you so much, Stephen, and thank you for chatting with me. This has been great. Thank you so much.
And please give your mother my regards, and thank you so much for bringing me on and thinking of me.
Thank you, sending you love, and sending you love and your family so much love as well, and prayers and just sunshine.
And have a happy 4th.
You too. Yay.
Okay.
Oh, and, what's today? Was it tomorrow's the Civil Rights Act anniversary as well? So it's just a lot of celebrations going on.
I know. And we can do it with hot dogs and barbecue and all those good things.
Yes. Well, I'm so happy I got to talk to you. I'll talk to you soon.
Looking forward to see you in the flesh.
Yay.
Ciao.